As the founder of Beulah's Place, Andi has not only made Central Oregon a safer place, but her work has helped fight to end the human trafficking across America. You've been an inspiration to us all. So it's my great honor and privilege, a true honor to be here today, and for both Oregon and America, to be able to introduce the one and only Andi Buerger, tireless worker, fighter of human trafficking, a wonderful human being, Andi Buerger.
Wow. If you would ask me when I was a little tyke, if I could ever imagine something like this, I would have said no. And I'm emotional because you have chosen to take time out of your life to be here to help us fight for other victims who have no idea we're looking for them, who have no idea anyone cares about them. And I appreciate Congressman Walden and all of the legislatures, all of our dignitaries from both sides of the U.S. and Mexico being here, because it's everyone's concern. It's everyone's issue. So let me just give you a little bit of background. And without Blanquita and all of the members, this would never have happened even months ago. So thank you for being here, and for all of our friends in the media. Yes, when I was born in California, I was trafficked from 6 months to 17 years old by immediate and extended family members. My birth mother was the primary sexual predator in the family, followed by my birth father and other members. And at that time, back in those days, just shortly after the discovery of dirt, they didn't have a place to go for kids like me. You couldn't tell anyone your secrets, and we were threatened daily. My first memory of my birth mother was when she had a butcher knife in her hand. I was 3 years old, and my brother and I mistakenly put our hands on the door jamb. And she held up that butcher knife, and she started screaming and running at us with that knife, chasing us through the house, telling us she would cut us up, if we ever put our hands on her wallpaper again. And so that's the first memory I ever had of a mother. And by the age of 5, the physical, sexual, other abuses and torture and beatings and things that I went through were so great, I decided I would take my life. I would go down to the curb of my house, and I would jump in front of the first car coming fast enough to take me out, because I didn't want to wake up in that house again. And my birth mother had already said my days were numbered, and she could take me out anytime. So I thought, well, I'll just beat her to the punch. So I went down to the curb of my house, and that day no cars came by. And it was just so unusual not to have a car. And I looked up into that huge blue sky, and I thought, there's got to be something or somebody greater than the people that are hurting me, somebody that will help, somebody that will rescue. And in that moment in my life, God interceded. And for others, it may be something else. But I went back up to the garage, and I leaned against the door. And in my little 5-year-old voice, I just said, if you keep me alive, I'll do whatever you ask me to do. Now, at 5, I didn't realize how long a life and how much more pain there would be, until 18. I just knew in my head that 18, you're supposed to be free. But guess what? For all of you who are victims, you're never really free. You can be transformed, you can be healed, you can become whole, but it always follows you. There's always old issues and new faces and new places and new experiences, but it's how we handle them. And so the last time my birth mother tried to kill me, I was 17. And the only decent thing my birth father ever did was pull her off of me before she broke my neck. After that, I went to college, and I did really well. I thought, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to find friends. I'm going to have all this success, and I'm going to be so happy. And it doesn't really work that way, because if you don't deal with the demons in your life, they come out in unusual places. So I was the overachiever and the exceller, and I finished 4 years and 3 years with a double major, and then I thought, I got to get a job. And so I went through college. I was sexually harassed by professors. I escaped date rape, narrowly. I went on to law school because I thought if I go to law school, I will save all the kids just like me. And what I realized in those days was that the law didn't save children. I saw kids going back to abusers. I saw kids that shouldn't have ever been in the system, and enduring more hurt and more harm than they should have because no one took the time to listen. No one took the time to find out what's the root? Why is this kid running away? Or why is this kid in such distress? Why does it look good on the outside? I mean, my birth mother was a teacher. My birth father was a salesman. We looked good on the outside. But on the inside, it was a living hell. And so fast forward into a very abusive marriage, and I got counseling. And in that counseling, I started realizing who I could be and how to communicate, and that I never would have married that person had I been a little healthier myself, but I learned a lot. And I officially became a statistic at 32 years old because I didn't know how to do that. I didn't have the courage. I had a lot of shame and guilt, a lot of insecurities. I had a huge speech impediment, so I was constantly criticized and laughed at. And so it took that long for me to become part of the national statistics and to actually report. But then God did me another great favor. He brought me an amazing human being. I don't know anyone like him, my husband, Ed, who's in the audience, and who had a head injury before he came here. So we're just really glad he made it. And my lovely friend, Adriana Grant, who we'll hear from later, perhaps, and just so many people here with me in spirit. So I want to thank you for that. So I want to fast forward to Beulah's Place and what we do. After Ed and I were married, I had one of a number of traumatic brain injuries, and I was not able to work the traditional way. I was not the corporate trainer. I was not the lawyer. I had to give everything up so I could recover. And in that process, on Thanksgiving Day in 2008, we were serving food to the homeless families at the senior center. And we saw these young women, probably not 18, maybe 17. They had newborns, and they were living in their cars. And I thought, you know what? That's just wrong. We have got to find a way to help these teens that are on the street because traffickers look for vulnerable. And if you're disenfranchised from the community, if you don't have anyone you believe you can trust or that's safe, nowhere to go, no couch to be on, nobody that says, hey, I will fight for you, then you do get lost. We know within 48 hours of a teen being on the street, they are most likely to be involved in trafficking of some kind by that time. They're hungry, they're tired, they want some place to go. So that day, Ed and I decided to do something. And we put out a little free web page with our vision. And in 2009, we started working on it. And it took a couple years. We raised the money to become a 501c3. And for 11 years, we've been 100% volunteer driven. And we have a 92% success rate of our kids that go through our Safe House program, staying independent in the community. Now, I wish I had millions of dollars, and feel free to write a check if you want to, but it just goes to show a tiny mustard seed can yield great things because we don't have everything we need, but we do what we can with what we have. And we make sure kids are fed and clothed and have the opportunity. We had no idea we would have kids going to college, and we have had 16 kids live with us on and off, teenagers in our own home. Our safe houses always want our kids because they have such a rewarding experience. We have 5 in college, 2 graduated. Adriana is a 3-time Dean's List student. She can go to any university, wave your hand, that she wants to because she has done so well by her own determination and will to be what she wants to be in life. And every child deserves that chance to be safe, to be protected, to be valued, and to be supported. So in doing Beulah's Place then, what we do, as Congressman Walden said, we provide all these things. We can't take care of the pain, but what we can do is at least set them up to have the best chance as a young adult to be able to move forward in their life. They will always have to deal with what happened, but as we try and tell them what happened in your past can't be changed, but today you can change. And as long as you're willing to be accountable for your actions and own responsibility for your choices, no matter what they are, it's going to be okay. There's always a reason not to get up, not to show up. But if you get up and you show up, you got half the battle done. So we encourage them to be someone else's hero with that smile or with that work that they're going to do. And our kids are amazing. They're smart. They give back without being asked to. They don't look for anything. They're fiercely independent. And they make a difference in our community as consumers
and as citizens. So my goal is to have less victims that need us. I would like to be out of business. And I'm sure most of us here would like to be out of business. But while we may not be able to get rid of depraved behavior, we can certainly cut into the business end of it and keep more victims from becoming victims. You never know when something will come up. I've had almost 6 decades here, and just about a month ago, something came up from my past. Didn't remember it, hadn't seen it coming, and I had to deal with that because, wow, I don't know where that came from or what set it off, but at least I had the skills to do that and a support system. So we try and create a community with auto repair people and lawyers and different things so that our kids always have a place to go if they're in trouble. So if Ed and I aren't around, they have other people in the community they know will help them. Do you know most banks won't give anyone an account unless they can show residential history or a previous bank account? How does someone who's homeless do that? So we create the relationships, get them jobs, and help them get started. What they do with that is up to them, but we're there as long as they want us to be in their life. So I'm very proud of each and every one of our kids that we've helped in any way. And I'm very proud of those that are yet to come, only because we want to be that place. So we bought a building, still working on paying that off, but we bought a building this year. And we're going to expand our reach to the 14 to 19-year-old range. We have reduced suicide rates in the 18 to 21-year-old range in our area, but now we need to get to the younger kids because they're giving up too fast. They have no neutral place to run to, no neutral place to say, I'm confused, I need help, I just need to sit here and be quiet without being touched, without being hurt, without being, approached. And so we want to protect them. And it's a big reach, but I have full faith that it's going to work out. So thank you so much for your time and your attention. You guys are the heroes for being here, and it's a blessing and an honor, and I'm ready to go get them. What about you? Let's do it. Thank you.
It was such an amazing event today because now we have a foothold in creating a united national voice against human trafficking. Not just a group here, a group there, a lot of good people trying to do a lot of good things, but with national awareness and the emphasis of all our groups working together for one goal on both sides of the border, this is really going to help us get further in the cause of getting rid of human traffickers in our country and everywhere else. Now, can we ever extinguish it completely? Probably not. But if we can dent the business and create that awareness with our kids from the young age up and in through the areas where, like schools, hospitals, airlines, all the things we talked about today, that is what is so important, because the more eyes looking at it, the more eyes looking for it, the less victims we should have. Beulah's Place is a 501c3 nonprofit. What we do is we provide temporary shelter services to at-risk homeless teen boys and girls that have been trafficked, abused, neglected, that have fallen prey to drug trafficking or other drug traffickers or other things that are affecting their ability to live free, to live whole, to live healthy. And so we take care of their essential needs, food, clothing, medical, dental, things like that. And then what we also do is make sure that they complete high school education and that they have jobs that they can sustain. So then in about a 3 to 5 month period of time, they're ready to go back out into community and be independent adults with minimal assistance. But more importantly, it's getting their self-esteem, getting their empowerment built back up, showing them that God has a purpose and a hope for them, whether they know God or not. It's just that they are designed to be here. But when you've been sexually abused, when you've been trafficked, when you've been beaten down, when you've been stripped of your dignity, how hard is that to go forward and get that job or feel like you have a future and a hope? So what we try to do is instill that in them through action.
So I met Andi when I was 18 years old, just before I turned 18, I believe. And I had no one to really turn to, and that's kind of who she's focused on helping. So I didn't have the support of my family, I didn't have a good supportive social group in that area, and I didn't have anywhere to live or any way to feed myself, any way to supply myself the necessities. And I saw an article that KTVZ, our local news station, had done about her and reached out. At the age of 13, I ran away from my guardian at the time. It wasn't a safe place for me to be, and I just ended up relying on the kindness, or what I thought was kindness, of strangers. I wasn't able to rely on my family, and that was who I turned to, was people that I met basically on the streets. And being young and naive and not having the best upbringing, I didn't know what signs to look for. So when I came across somebody who said that they were willing to help me, I took that at face value. I think that's one of the big things that a lot of people in that situation kind of come to. They're just looking for safety and security and consistency. And they feel like those things are offered from people who are really just grooming them. They may offer a safe place to stay. They may offer, protection or food or whatever it is. But, that runs out, and eventually you end up owing them. And that's really where it becomes dangerous.
This is a dark topic to most people, but if we look at the hope end of it, what can be, what could be, all of these individuals who are being violated, persecuted, sexually tortured, all those things that I went through myself, they are a contributing factor to the future of our country, to the quality of our country, to the families that they have yet to have. And they need that future and that hope. They need to know that they matter, that they count, that they are seen, even if they don't feel seen, that they're heard, that the cries have been heard, even if they don't know someone's listening, and that we are looking for them. We do want to bring them out. And if somebody's been traumatized and maybe they're not young anymore, we need them to know that they also can have hope. We keep moving, and don't buy the lies that the world says you're not worth something, you don't look right, you don't have the right clothes, you don't do the right things. You keep moving, you keep choosing to press in and press on, and you will make it. It won't be easy, it won't always be fun or fair, nothing's really fair, but if you keep pressing on like I did, if you make the choice to be better than where you came from, better than what the world says you can be, you will find who you are, and you will determine your path that way. Sometimes we can't control what other people do to us, but we can control what we do with what they've done. So we can replicate it, we can say, no way, I'm never gonna be like that, or we can just be lost. We can choose to be lost, self-medicate, and say, I was hurt, and be the victim the rest of our life. But then your purpose and your truth will never be known, because it's hidden. And every time I look at one of the kids that we have had the opportunity to rescue, and Ed and I have had 38 total that we've housed, and then hundreds of minors that we weren't able to house, but we could help. I look at that face and I wonder, what if we hadn't been there? What if somebody hadn't stopped her from committing suicide? What if somebody hadn't rescued her out of that rat-infested, wherever she was living, where she was sick and tired and ready to give up? What if we hadn't rescued that boy out of the public restroom after he'd been beaten and robbed? What if the Good Samaritan never showed up, right? And so it's that calling, it's that mission, and it's kind of how we wrap up things in my book, A Fragile Thread of Hope. And my writer, Kay Farish, did an awesome job of helping me get a very tough story out, but also the stories of several of the kids that we've rescued that are in there, and ultimately what we can do as a community together and what we can do for these kids.